Hello and welcome to a quick introduction of our public transport optimization platform. Our platform is online, which means that everything you need to do to start working with the platform is to just get an account and then either import your data into the platform, or you can also try to create the data from scratch directly in our platform. In this case, I'll be showing you the basic functionalities in a quick way so that it's not too long, and I'll be showing you the platform on a small town in Poland in Europe. But for the introduction, it should be okay. So what we are looking at right now is the data that we have imported. This is public data which we found on the internet. We downloaded it in a GTFS, so the Google standard feed for public transport format, and we just imported the data into the platform. So here you can see it's 11 routes. Of course, we can look at each route with all the trips and all the basic information, and on the right we see it on a map. Here we can look the default. We can see the default view. We can see the stops. We can see the routes and then the trips on each stop. So this is how the data can be displayed here. And then on this view, what can be done is that the routes, the trips, the services, the stops, etc. can be customized, or a new route, new trips can be created, etc. If, for example, we go to the times, we can change the services, how the trips, or when the trips run, etc. Also on the map, we don't have to only look at this default view, but we can also customize what we are seeing on the map. So I can, for example, turn off the stops, and I can look at other stuff like the flows. So this is showing us the passenger flows. We can move that in time. We can also look at some other layers which show us different stuff that can then help us when, for example, creating routes, trips, services, etc. And there are different views that we can look at. For example, we can look at population densities. This shows us how many people are close to the stops. Or we can, for example, look at education points, which shows us the schools, etc. And as I said, this can help us when creating the routes, the trips, etc. So this is one part of the platform that's looking at the network, looking at the stops, the routes, the trips, etc., and creating new ones or customizing something. The second important part of the platform are the daily plans. So this is the part when we can, for the network that we have, we can create daily plans for vehicles and for drivers. Of course, we don't have to create it for everything. We can choose specific routes or specific trips. Because this is a small feed, we can leave everything in. And once we choose what we want to create the daily plans for, we can move to the most interesting part, and that's where we can build our own optimization case or optimization scenario. So there are different parameters, activities, and functions that can be included. Each of them has an explanation what exactly it does. For example, if we want to use electric buses, we can add activity of recharging. We can define the activity, and then the platform will add the activity to the daily plans based on the specifications. As I showed, there are many activities, parameters, functions that can be defined. For example, two very important parameters that I'll mention are vehicles and drivers. By default, we try to minimize the number of vehicles, but we can also set an exact count. We also try to minimize the number of drivers, but again, there are different options that can be customized. Once we create our case, we just click on optimize, and the platform will create the daily plans for us in a couple of seconds, of course, depending on how big the data feed is. So here we can see the results, so we can see the daily plans for that day, for the vehicles that it used. We can of course see every plan in detail. We can also look at the duties for drivers. We are checking the legislation here. Again, or also the stuff like this, the legislation, the vehicle park, etc. can all be customized. But let's check it here. And once again, we have different views. We can, for example, look at routes. So in this case, it shows us how the algorithm mixed the routes. So one color equals one route. So we can see that, for example, if you look at vehicle 9, it starts on this route, then it has a lunch, then it moves to another route, etc. We can also look at, for example, delays. So departure delay, this is based on our AI prediction models. So we are trying to predict which trips are likely to be problematic in terms of the departure at delay. Then, of course, what we can do is to add time in between the trips, and different stuff like this can be viewed. So this is like the base of the platform. What can be done after that is that the daily plans can be taken and transformed into long-term plans for drivers and vehicles, of course. And because the compute is quick and there are many different parameters and functions, the user can create unlimited number of scenarios. There is a lot that can be done. Of course, I'm always happy to introduce the platform in detail, but this should serve as kind of a basic intro. So thank you for your attention.